It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. With one of the most recognizable opening lines in all of literature, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice is a novel that is essentially a satirical social commentary on the priorities of society at the time. In other words, to marry well. The story is based in the 18th and 19th century on a family of 4 daughters, some of which his only goal in life is to marry well, while one of the older ones, Elizabeth, only wants to marry for true love. In the very first lines of the book, the mother and father are having a discussion about the new bachelor in town. While the mother hopes to marry off one of her daughters to him, the father has learned just to simply indulge the mother's silliness. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. However, little known the feelings or views of such a man may be on his first entering a neighborhood. This truth is so well fixed in the minds of the surrounding families that he is considered as the rightful property of someone or other of their daughters. "My dear Mr. Bennet," said his lady to him one day, "have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last?" Mr. Bennet replied that he had not. "But it is," returned she, "for Mrs. Long has just been here, and she told me all about it." Mr. Bennet made no answer. "Do not you want to know who has taken it?" cried his wife impatiently. "You want to tell me, and I have no objection to hearing it." This was invitation enough. And after a few more questions between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet on the subject on the new bachelor, Mr. Bennet goes on to ask, "What is his name?" "Bingley." "Is he married or single?" "Oh, single, my dear, to be sure. A single man of large fortune, 4,000 or 5,000 a year. What a fine thing for our girls." "How so? How can it affect them?" "My dear Mr. Bennet," replied his wife, "how can you be so tiresome? You must know that I am thinking of his marrying one of them." And after a few more exchanges between the couple, Mr. Bennet relates to his wife that most girls are silly, and in response, Mrs. Bennet says, "Mr. Bennet, how can you abuse your own children in such a way? You take delight in vexing me. You have no compassion on my poor nerves." "You mistake me, my dear. I have a high respect for your nerves. They are my old friends. I have heard you mention them with consideration these 20 years at least. Ah, you do not know what I suffer. But I hope you will get over it and live to see many young men of 4,000 a year come into the neighborhood." And getting away from the excerpt, although Jane Austen's works are from the early 1800s, her works are still relevant to this day, with her social commentary, which was almost unheard of from a woman. She liked to poke fun at the ironies in society, yet she was witty, elegant, and relatable. She was a truth teller, which is why many readers, including myself, can relate to Pride and Prejudice.